If you can't find these games on Steam in the future, I might be the reason for that. But trust me, you wouldn't want them anyway. My name is Graeldon, I'm on an impossible journey to review every Steam game in alphabetical order, and today we're playing all of the 1001 Jigsaw Puzzle Games. All 52 of them. What even is my life at this point? Let's begin. As a result of the arguably incredibly stupid premise of this channel, I've had to endure some pretty mind-numbing gaming challenges. Creating a tier list for every 100 hidden object game was certainly up there, but in my opinion, today's challenge is a strong contender for a crown that literally nobody wants. Having recently finished playing 1000 Times Resist, an absolute delight of a game, it was time for Lady Luck to pull the rug out from under me, hit the lever Emperor's New Groove style to send me plummeting back into the depths of Steam's bottomless dumpster of games that nobody ever plays. Next up on the menu was a stretch of not one, not two, not even 10, but 52 1001 Jigsaw Puzzle games. Of course, rather than creating a video for each one, the intent was always to combine them together, otherwise that would be a year's worth of weekly videos and certain death for my channel. So here we are, on the edge of this precipice, and you may be wondering how on earth a lawsuit fits into all of this, and while I promise to get into it, I can't promise that it'll have the satisfying ending you crave, at least not yet, so temper those expectations. Instead, let's begin by talking about the games themselves. I went into this expecting to play a bunch of 1001 piece jigsaw puzzles by a handful of different developers, each of which creating and presenting their game in a different way. When you look at the list, you can see some obvious groupings like the Earth Chronicles series, Home Sweet Home series, World Tour series, and a series of ones featuring cute cats. Well, I was wrong on both fronts. Not only are these games, all 52 of them, by the same developer, there also wasn't a single 1001 piece jigsaw puzzle to be found anywhere in this mess. Developed by Creobit, Soma Games or 8 Floor, and published by 8 Floor, these games released between December 2018 and October 2023 and sell for either $7.50 dues or $21 dues and 95 cents, with seemingly no logic to the price differences. Yes, I mentioned 3 different developers immediately after saying they all come from the same developer because the in-game credits all point to the same dev team. In fact, while some games credit 8 Floor as both the developer and publisher, the in-game credits show 2 different teams. And yes, this means you could spend up to $765 dues and 70 cents if you purchased all of these games. But thankfully, I was able to pick them up on sale at around 90% off. But that does mean I still spent around $77 dues, which is much more than I should have for the sake of this video. Speaking of, if you're not a channel member but would like to fund more things like this, please consider joining, as it can be for as little as $1 per month, which comes with some added perks for live streams. So, if there aren't any 1001 piece jigsaw puzzles in these games, what the heck are we actually looking at? These games have either 500 or 1001 different images, depending on the game, that have been divided into puzzles of varying sizes, sometimes grouped by genre, and with 2 levels of difficulty depending on whether the pieces need to be rotated or not. So it seems like the 1001 part of the name stuck despite only 9 of the 52 games actually having 1001 puzzles, and despite the fact that the first games released in the series only had 500 puzzles. We're off to a great start. Every game starts the same way, a dev logo followed by a loading screen with the game's icon and then the puzzle selection screen, which is presented like a book or photo album with 4 images on each page and either 13, 18 or 21 pages depending on the specific game. Various functions are found along the bottom of the screen, including achievements, a local high score list, a tool for cutting puzzles into different sizes, and an actual options menu that is limited to music and sound effect sliders, resolution settings that don't support up to 4K, and the credits. From a gameplay perspective, this left me in a bit of a pickle. I was expecting a single jigsaw puzzle and ended up with 500. So what would count as completing the game? Do I need to beat all 500 of them and repeat this 52 times? Considering there are no gameplay differences other than the number of pieces, and that I value the remnants of my sanity, I settled on a different goal: the achievements. These range from completing puzzles of a set size, playing for a certain length of time, not using hints, getting a certain number of points, or making a number of correct moves in a row. I quickly realized that most, if not all of these achievements could be completed by finishing a single puzzle of at least 200 pieces, which also happens to be the largest puzzle size in each game. I also realized that these achievements were exactly the same in every game, and not just the description word for word, but in many cases the icons were as well, so that became my goal. For each game, I would need to play and complete the first puzzle that has at least 200 pieces, as this would trigger all of the achievements, with the occasional exception of the one for playing at least 1 hour, when I managed to find a puzzle that wasn't just various shades of brown. Back on the puzzle select screen, we can start to see some rough edges. The page numbers aren't correctly aligned, images don't have evenly spaced borders, adding a player name never allows capital letters despite the default name having a capital letter, and sometimes the character limit is so short I can't even enter all of my own name. Text overlaps out of the boxes, and in one case, they clearly had a moment of pure delirium and decided that this UI color combination was okay when it very clearly is not. After playing a few games, I also realized that in the majority of cases, the number of puzzle pieces per puzzle were almost exactly the same. The first puzzle has roughly 12, the second has roughly 24, the third has about 35, and so on. This meant that the first puzzle with more than 200 pieces was always in this position on the fourth page. The slight variation in the number of pieces probably just comes down to whatever algorithm they used to cut up the original image. But this just gives you an idea of the sheer level of copy and pasting that has gone on here to produce so many games. Now, there is music present, one track for the main menu and one track when completing a puzzle. These get changed out in different themed games, but are generally utterly forgettable, non-offensive music, likely sourced from a stock or royalty-free artist. You'll understand why this is so likely shortly. The gameplay mechanics themselves are largely fine. Left click and hold it to pick up a piece and move it around. Right click to rotate a piece. That's it. If you were expecting more, then I expect you've never seen a jigsaw puzzle before. There are buttons along the bottom that have some extra functions, like displaying a shadow image, highlighting the edge pieces, shuffling or sorting pieces automatically, or just showing an image of the final result with 3 different zoom levels. Aside from the final one, using any of these buttons would disqualify me from earning the achievements, so every puzzle was painstakingly completed the hardest possible way. For puzzles with so many pieces, many of them ended up being so small that you can't make out details other than the color of the piece, and sometimes can't tell easily if it has an edge or not. This is made further frustrating by the fact that every game has a custom cursor, and the spot that clicking interacts with is often misaligned with the point of the cursor. You can have it hovering over a piece and be unable to select it, resulting in a lot of misclicks and selecting multiple pieces with the click and drag function, rather than actually moving the single piece that you actually want to. So while it is functional, it's certainly not polished. So where does a lawsuit come into all of this? Well, as I was reading through the Steam store descriptions and admiring the various mistakes in them caused by the proofreader failing to update them correctly between games, resulting in a game about cats talking about castles, I noticed that one user had left a negative review on almost every game. As Obey the Fist rightly points out, most, if not all of the images used are taken from image sharing sites, but credit isn't provided anywhere. Now, while I agree that this is bad practice in principle, it's not technically illegal. Or is it? Thanks to the wonders of reverse image searching, I was able to track down the source of many of the photos used in the games. The first site that came up was Unsplash, which does allow for the use of images from the site without providing credit. The second site was RGB Stock, and here the T's and C's were a little more grey regarding items being sold where the image is the main reason for the item to be sold. So I reached out to the owner of the website, Jay, who confirmed that the use of the images are totally above board. The third website though was Shutterstock, and after looking through their legal jargon, one section caught my eye. Basically, they're also fine with not providing credit for the original artists, unless the work is considered merchandise or contains images from multiple sources, and these games seem to qualify on both fronts. So I did what any good Samaritan would do, and provided a bunch of evidence to their customer service team. After a quick back and forth, their helpful assistant, Tyler, passed the case along to their internal legal team, where it is currently undergoing investigations. So, while there currently isn't a neat conclusion, I can only say that if this ends up going through and the games are removed from Steam, that's going to be a win for everyone. Now, I'm certainly not a lawyer, so I don't want to speculate about the odds of this actually happening. Maybe someone in the community here that is more familiar with both game development and Shutterstock can speak to the potential issues, if any, here. Even if it technically isn't illegal or in breach of T's and C's, I think we can all agree that using art in this volume without providing any kind of credit is a pretty low tier thing to do, and won't win you any favours with whoever their target audience is. I think this could also be seen as an argument for Steam needing tighter restrictions to avoid literal copy-pasted games flooding their store, but that could also be a slippery slope in terms of figuring out where to draw the line and rules around censorship. Ultimately, this is why we should be voting with our wallets, why Steam reviews do actually matter, and this is exactly why I'm on this mission and taking one for the wider gaming community to find the games that are actually worth your time and money. And it's pretty obvious that it's none of these ones. Here are the nicest things I can say about these games. They are functional, and they didn't use AI. Yeah, it's pretty bottom of the barrel where not using AI in your copy-pasted slot games constitute 50% of your compliments. It's pretty safe to say that the games are terrible, but it doesn't stop there. To wrap up this review, here are some additional ways in which these developers manage to either drop the ball or attempt to screw over consumers. Firstly, the descriptions in the Steam store get increasingly nonsensical. Some of my favourites are them being so proud of bundling 500 stolen images together that it warrants being mentioned twice, along with the line, "It is beneficial." Or this one where they gave up counting the number of puzzles and just labelled it a lot. Speaking of labelling things, the alphabetical order of these games are also all over the place. Some use a space after the word jigsaw, others have a colon, and others still use a full stop instead, causing even games within the same series to be out of order alphabetically. This is why I played 1001 Jigsaw Castles and Palaces 2 before the first one. In addition, two of the games, 1001 Jigsaw 6 Magic Elements and 1001 Jigsaw Myths of Ancient Greece, both contain Chinese words in the store page name, although this doesn't appear in the library entry. Speaking of 6 Magic Elements, this is one of the few games that labels the boxes or pages of the in-game picture book, but they chose to call the elements water, air, land, stone, lightning, and fire. Not only are land and stone basically both just earth, but the examples in lightning are rainbows, fireworks, and people in cosplay. Ah yes, this grassy tunnel in the mountain is the embodiment of lightning. Probably one of the most offensive things though was that I found some games that actually reused images from other games, which of course is likely to happen when you're dealing with as many pictures as they are here. Although the absolute worst mistake was one game that just showed a blank picture when scrolling through the list. Now thankfully it actually loads an image when trying to play the puzzle, but come on, how do you not catch that during playtesting? Oh wait, that's easy. You don't playtest. So while all those are mistakes through laziness, lack of skills, or as a result of taking shortcuts, when investigating the various prices for the games, I noticed something incredibly scummy. While most games launched at $7.50 dues and had regular sales of 90% off, the games that are currently $21.95 never used to be that price. No. They also were $7.50 dues, and only a few months ago did they randomly triple in price. Well, they weren't worth your money before, and they certainly aren't worth it now. At the end of the day, I have to ask myself the question, considering these games are basically copy-pasted versions of each other, did I really need to go to the effort of playing through a puzzle in each of them? Of course not. But I did it anyway, simply to maintain the credibility and consistency of this channel. Was it worth it? Absolutely not. So with that in mind, my final rating for all 52 1001 Jigsaw games is a negative review copied and pasted 52 times out of 10. If these devs are comfortable with copying and pasting their actual quote-unquote game, then they should be comfortable with a copied and pasted review. Welcome to the end of the video. As always, thank you to all the Crusaders and Templar Knights for supporting the channel, especially our noble knights Azazel, Dados, Kartoffeljäger 3, Negi Malevolent, Chev _ and the Crabs. And an extra special thank you to our 4 Knights of the Holy Grail, DJ Ultrapup, Fuchs Card Expo, Freaky Feline, and Matey8. If you'd like to support the channel, check out the membership options below, or just remember to like and subscribe, that helps too. That's all for now, so if you've made it this far, here's a sneak peek of the next game. And until next time, take care.